Imagine waking up tomorrow and everything is different. Your income has doubled, tripled, quadrupled. Your business is booming and you're living a reality that you thought was like years away. Well, sounds impossible. Well, what if I told you that real transformation doesn't happen gradually, brick by brick? What if I told you that real transformation happens in an instant? And that's the power of a quantum leap. And I can't hold the excitement of diving into this topic today with you, and for which reason I even have an expert on this topic. And the reason why I'm doing this and this whole show, because this is a podcast for the alternative entrepreneur, for the entrepreneur who is ready to flip the script and create freedom, not as a destination, but use it as a path and get real, huge, amazing, delicious results as a byproduct, not the other way round. So, are you ready to do this for yourself, for your children, and for humanity? Say yes. And now let's play. So I'm really, really, really happy to have Gemma on my show today. And she is the one who's going to tell us all about those quantum leaps. Sounds really, really good, but I think we are all interested in how the hell does that happen? And just a quick intro about Gemma. She is a quantum leap transformation coach who bridges the woo with a do to make logically minded but spiritually open entrepreneurs make way more money and impact in their business in a way that feels easy, fun, and effortless. And that's what I'm talking about. So, very welcome, Gemma. So happy to have
Hi.
you here.
Thank you, Adita. What a pleasure it is to be here. What an introduction, eh? It's amazing you have this podcast. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
I'm so excited. I told you before, this is one of my favorite topics. Um, it's all about leverage, and then it's all about quantum leaping, and then it's all about creating freedom in the process,
Yeah,
and all those kind of things. So
yeah.
I know now, after talking to quite a few people, and obviously from my own experience, that we don't normally we are not normally born with the knowledge or access to things like quantum leap and freedom and flow instead of grind and all those kind of things, right? So I suspect you two have a powerful story. So tell us a little bit about how you got here to this place, how you became a quantum leap expert.
Yeah, of course. So I think like many of us, I had the traditional upbringing of work hard at school, work hard at university, get the grades, get the job, work hard, the societal conditioning has a massive part to play in this, with that belief that is ingrained in so many of us that if you want success, you have to work really, really, really hard all the time,
Mhm.
right? And so that was not a problem for me. I'm an action taker. I'm not really a procrastinator. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. I'll work really hard. That's not a problem. It is a
Guilty,
problem.
guilty.
Yeah, it's guilty as charged, right? It's like, I'll do all the things and I want success and I want lots of money and I want a business I love. So I actually fell into a career by accident as a behavior analyst. I have an undergrad in psychology. Everybody left university, went to London, got the job, and I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And did that classic thing of I'll become a teacher. Got into to university to do a postgrad and had a summer to kill before that course started. And an advert came up to work with a child with autism just for the summer holidays. And I was like, perfect, I'll do that.
Mhm.
And I fell in love with this job and the training that I received, and I cancelled the place at university. That's something that I think has
That
served.
was quantum.
That was quantum, right? I was like, I'll stop the conventional path right here and jump into this totally unknown profession. To be honest with you, it was very naive at the time. I was so young. I had no idea what was happening in terms of like, there wasn't the profession as a behavior analyst doesn't exist in Scotland, where I come from. But at that point, it was about absolutely following my passion and my joy compass. And I think when you're young and you don't have kids, right, and big responsibilities, we're a lot more flexible and adapt at following our joy compass, even with the societal conditioning and that this is the path you should take. I was sort of teetering on the edge of that. So, for example, when everyone went to university after school, I traveled for 2 years. I was a backpacker and worked my way around the world. And I
Mhm.
tell you, I have never felt more empowered and free and confident with the trust that everything would work out. I remember arriving in Australia with literally $1 in my hand. I had to find a youth hostel and say to the guy, I'll clean your bathrooms and your kitchen if you can give me a bed for the night. And he was like, yeah, of course. And then I just got a job the next day. Like, I think that served me really well in having unshakable, unwavering trust that this is going to work out. I'm in a whole new country. I don't know anybody, no family, no friends, but I'm going to make friends. I'm going to get a job. Like it will all work out. And that has served me really well throughout my entire life because it's the exact same thing I did when I became a behavior analyst. I was like, no idea no idea that this profession doesn't exist. There's no company to work for, no charity. But this, I can do this, right? My self-efficacy, the belief I have about myself to learn new things has always been really solid. The trust and the faith that it would work out was really solid in my younger years. And I feel like as I got older, that sort of evaporated and dissipated a little bit. So that's when my quantum leaping stopped, when I started to get the fear crept in about, what happens if, right? Like what happens if I can't build this business because there was no other option. I had to as a behavior analyst. I was like, it's me carving out this career
And
path.
what do you think caused that growth of self-doubt?
I honestly think it's when I became a mum. Like up until that point, I was like, it's okay. Like I only have myself to worry about in
Mhm.
terms of making money. I just have to focus on my clients. I'm a hustler, right? I had that masculine energy of like, I can do this, I can work hard, that's not a problem. But when I became a mum, things changed. I just, I started the seed of self-doubt came from nowhere. And I was like, and I sort of ignored it, suppressed it, right? I was like, just keep going, keep the baby alive, keep the business alive. It's fine, it's fine. We'll just put our head in the sand. And it took me years and years to actually realize that I was plateauing and not making progress in building my business or making more money, or in fact, it was getting worse. I felt less free and less free and less free.
I want to pause for the cause because I actually believe that we either grow or we degrade, we go up or down. There is no plateau as like
Okay.
the universe,
Mm.
like it can either expand or contract or and everything else like in business or your fitness, like you once maybe were good at running, but if you stopped, you're becoming worse, right? If you're
Yeah.
not keep going, and doing what needs to be done, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And it's funny because I felt like in my younger years, that I had it nailed, right? Without realizing it, totally unconscious. I wasn't aware of any of this work, right? At all.
Yeah.
Very scientifically minded, very black and white, very all or nothing in my thinking. I now realize. But yeah, it was when I became a mum and I realized when I was bathing my baby, that I was writing emails and social media in my head. Do you know, it's that way of like,
Oh
I
my
was
God.
never present as a parent.
Same,
I was
same.
constantly serving my clients in my mind.
Or the other way around, right? When you were working on your business,
Aha,
you were thinking, what's going on over there behind that door and stuff like that, yeah, right?
yeah. And so the guilt was present all the time. Either,
All the time.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this constant bubble of frustration, which because I was so good at suppressing with my doing, I've just normalized that. Like absolutely normalized the constant frustration of, oh my God, am I ever going to get this business to where I want it to grow to? But I just got sucked in with the belief of I must be doing something wrong and therefore need to work harder. I need to look outside of myself for the missing piece of the puzzle.
You're telling my story. You are telling my story, and I believe the story of so many listeners as well.
Yeah, because we're just, it's indoctrinated in us that, if there's a problem, then we seek to find the solution. But it's very external. So there's an external focus on figuring out the how, very sort of focused on solving the problem in terms of, who can help me fix this? Who can get rid of this uncomfortable feeling and this, negative bank balance? Who can help me fix this? And we're all conditioned to look outside of ourselves. We're not taught any of us how to think and use our brains and how to feel our feelings. None of us are taught that at school, right? We're taught to read and write. I think it's getting better nowadays a little bit. Um, and so it really, like, I had a cliche story, I'm not gonna lie, when COVID hit and the world stopped, that was my moment to be like, something's got to change here. Something has got to change because I felt like I was going crazy, Adita. I felt like I was going absolutely crazy.
2020 was the one of the pivotal years for me, one of those years where I at the start of the year I was thinking I'm getting myself back. This year is to get myself back, and then COVID hit. And everything went even worse than that. I already knew I totally lost myself, right? But it was and my daughter was at home now, and my partner was at home, and everything was all over the place. And well, everybody, do you relate to this? I remember I was seeing posts on Facebook when everybody was saying, now that we have so much time to contemplate, meditate, read books, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna punch you in the face. You know, it's
Yes, I've got 3 children to homeschool. What the actual hell is happening? Like, oh, it's awful. It's awful.
yeah.
Um, but really, it was a kind of like pivotal moment for me in my story that something had to stop. All I was doing, I was very aware that my escape mechanisms was to just throw cash at business coaches and marketing courses and you there, fix this problem. Just
Such a
that
good
was my
point. Mhm.
go-to escape. And of course, nothing worked. Right? I'd make a little bit of progress. I'm always going to learn something new because I'm a lifelong learner, but not nearly as much progress as the courses promised they would make.
Mhm.
Um, and so somebody had suggested to me, you need to see a mindset coach. And I literally rolled my eyes like, no, that is not for me. I'm a scientist. I've got a master's degree in applied behavior analysis. I'm an expert in understanding human behavior, right? I don't need that crap. Thank you very much. I was so against it, super skeptical. Um, and continued for a little bit longer, throwing money at business coaches and courses. Like, I mean, talk about banging your head against a brick wall. It was insane. And then eventually I was like, right, maybe I should try something different, right? Sought out a mindset coach who was recommended to me, and everything changed from there. 12 weeks. Those 12 weeks changed my life.
12
The
weeks.
very first call, she had said I had classically diagnosed myself with imposter syndrome, lack of confidence, self-doubt, and I was like, that's my problem. And she basically said to me, I think this isn't so much an issue with your confidence as it is with misalignment. Do you like your business? And I got really angry and very defensive. And I was like, of course I like my business. Who do you think you are? Like, this has been my baby 15 years ago, like all this. And she was just like, whoa, red flag, Gemma, red flag here. And of course, once we opened that can of worms and explored that, I was done. I'd totally fallen out of love with my business.
Mm,
I felt burnt out, exhausted. That was part of the problem, which I think I covered up and masked with the hustle behavior. It's fine, I can do this with three young children and serving autistic children. Um, that was a massive thing for me. I felt like she punched
wow.
me in the
I
stomach.
just remember when you were saying, you were covering it up. I remember I used to tell myself, and I still, because I do love what I do, but I used to say, my business, and I didn't even have an office. I had a little corner in one room,
Yeah,
with a laptop, and I used to say it's my safe place for me
yeah,
to escape, that's where to escape from everything going on in the house. That's where I used to escape,
yeah.
but I used to escape to that
Escape.
place with
Yeah.
that other energy.
Yes,
And
I
I
love
was
how,
good at disciplining myself. Oh my God, I can do it all day long.
yes.
No.
Yeah, yeah. And I love how you've just mentioned that word energy, right? Because that is the key to success.
Yes.
It's
And
energy.
so first of all, thank you so much for sharing your story so openly. And, I think it's very important to hear other people's stories because we have very similar stories, and we feel normal when we hear that other people have gone through the same
Mm.
mud. you know and I'm really looking forward to. And was that course that changed your life about quantum leap?
No, so this course, this was a 12-week coaching container that really helped me open Pandora's box. That was the biggest
Right.
thing. I was like, we're not going there. We're not going there. I'll just keep busy, busying myself to death. That's what I was doing. And she really helped me explore the fact that I was burnt out, I was misaligned. My confidence was a bit wobbly, definitely. We worked on all these things, but by the end of those 12 weeks, I was like, I can't do this business anymore. I'm going to hand it over and I'm going to start again, which felt
Mm.
massive at the age of 40. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I've poured everything into this profession. It's my part of my identity, but that was part of the problem. I over-identified with my profession, making my sense of self-worth dependent on it and
Mm.
my successes or failures in that business, making my sense of self-worth dependent on other people's opinions of me, clients, colleagues, constantly looking up to peers who had PhDs and they were published authors, and I saw myself as this little person trying to like scrape things together and make it work in Scotland, where it didn't really exist as a profession. Did not see myself as a pioneer or a leader in the field at all. So I had a really distorted way of seeing myself. And by the end of those 12 weeks working with this lovely lady, I said to her, I want to do what you're doing with me. I want to become you. This is awesome. And she was like, yeah, you should become a coach. And I was like, okay. So then I researched all the courses, your Tony Robbins, your Jay Shetty, everything. And I found a lovely lady who is now my mentor and has been for a number of years, who trains coaches to become quantum leap coaches, because I wanted to be trained in something that was steeped in science because of my background as a behavior analyst. But I really wanted to understand the spiritual side of the woo, I call it. So all the
Mhm.
laws of the universe, the subconscious mind, that infinite intelligence that we all have access to. And so that's who I studied with, and that's who is my mentor. And then I started my business, and here I am. So that's how the story ended.
Wow, that's fascinating. And so I arrived at the idea of quantum leap a while ago as well. But I think we shared already, I didn't understand how it worked, and it sounded like I believed it worked,
Mm,
but I didn't really understand until quite recently, relatively recently. So I would like to dive in into that
yeah,
topic now with you
let's do it.
about the mechanics for everyone who's like, that's like more of woo, or things like that. You know,
I was that skeptic, honestly, 2 weeks into that training course with my mentor, Femke, I asked for a refund. I was like, this is not for me. This is over my head. I have no clue what you're talking about. It felt like a PhD standard of coach training. And I was a newbie, right? And I came from this very scientific background. But the books that really changed everything for me and helped me understand the quantum physics side of things were Dr. Joe Dispenza. His books are excellent at really describing how the science works behind all of this talk about energy. And there's a really good, a fun experiment you can do with your kids. Have you heard of the rice experiment with the water jars?
with the water jars.
What's the,
Uh,
it's,
Actually rings the bell. Uh,
that's actually gonna annoy me. Water rice jar. I'm gonna look it up because I'll need to find the name.
oh, the energy that you put into the plant, or is that the one?
Yeah,
Tell me about it.
can't find the name of it just now. I'll tell you about it. So basically, you should do it. I did it with my daughter. So you have two jars and you put plain white rice in both jars and then fill them both up with water. And then you have one's labeled love, one's labeled hate, and you put them in totally separate rooms, right? So it's just plain rice in water. One's got love on it, one's got hate on it. That's it. And then every day you talk to the jar. So for the love jar, you're like, I love you so much. You're just amazing. Like you're so incredible. Like you just big it up. You just love on the rice, right? Just every day for a couple of minutes. And then you do the exact same with the jar that says hate on it. You're like, I hate you. You're the worst. Like, and you hate on the jar of rice that's got the hate label on it. And after a few weeks, the jar with the hate label on it, the rice turns black and moldy. And the jar with the love label on it is absolutely pristine white
Oh my
rice.
God, I heard something similar. Can't remember exactly, not with rice, with something else, but literally a sort of a clone of that experiment, something very,
It's
very
it's amazing. Do it with your daughter. Like it's so interesting. And because I really wanted to highlight to I've got a 10-year-old daughter. I really wanted to show her like physically how powerful your words
Oh my
are.
God.
Right. And that's what it is. And if you think about it, we're made up of a lot of water in our bodies, right?
Yeah.
Imagine what we're doing to our bodies by thinking negative thoughts. If speaking can do that to rice, what can thinking negatively do to our bodies? And so the take home point of this is every thought you have, every feeling you have is energy, right? It is energy. Every intention even is energy. So when you're having a thought which creates a feeling, you are actually creating an electromagnetic field around you. It's just like radio waves or microwaves. You can't see them. It's invisible, right? But you know yourself, Adita, like if you've walked into a room and there's been two people fighting and you're like, whoa, you could cut the tension with a knife. There's that saying, right? You're like, ooh, just like close the door and walk away. You can feel that negative energy. Likewise, if you've gone to a wedding or you're at a music concert or a gig and you're like, oh my God, that was amazing. And you're buzzing for days, even afterwards. You're like, that
Mhm.
was the best day ever. Like, I loved that. It's energy, it's emotions and thoughts that are creating this positive or negative, but it's all energy. And with this energy, we have the capability of harnessing that to attract what we want. The problem is you can also attract what you don't want with the exact same energy using your thoughts and feelings. So a lot of us, especially in COVID, when there was so much fear mongering, right? And everyone was like, what the hell is going on? It was the fear of the unknown, the unpredictable, the unfamiliar. Like nobody knew if they were going to have their jobs, and it was just this massive mess of fear. And so that creates, on a worldwide level, a collective consciousness of fear. And
Yeah.
that's all energy. And so you are attracting more of what you are thinking and feeling. And that's the law of
Did
attraction.
you hear about that experiment? I think they did maybe in the 90s, and I think in Washington, D.C. in the US, where they gathered 800 meditators.
Yes, yes. I know the one you're talking
And
about.
the crime dropped in Washington during that time
Yes.
by 20 something percent, I think.
Yeah. That's the collective, like, consciousness and
Isn't it like
energy.
mind blowing?
There's so many, like, if you look on, if you're a nerd like me, and like it sounds like you are as well, Adita,
I
but
have a scientific background. I have master's in IT.
if your listeners are also nerds, look up the Heart Math Institute if you want to look up more incredible experiments. And
Heart Math Institute.
Heart Math Institute, yeah. They've got some phenomenal research that they're, talking about heart coherence and breath work and visualization as well. That's another untapped resource that we have, is that we have the power to visualize, right? And to imagine and to use our imagination skills. And your brain doesn't actually understand the difference between what is real and what is not.
Yeah.
So we are very much in tune with our senses, what we come into contact with, and base our reality on that. But what we're not doing, but what we can do, is to actually go inward and harness the power of your imagination and your visualization skills. Because as soon as you imprint that on your subconscious brain, its job is to make that your reality. That's what it does. That's what it does.
Oh, so okay, that's amazing. And I hope everyone is hearing that, right? And starting to believe that there is such thing as a quantum leap. Now, a different question. So I suspect that in order for you to think quality thoughts, they need some work
Oh, yes.
to be done. It's not like,
A little bit.
yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm glad you brought this up. So a lot of my clients, they've done a lot of personal development work. They might have been to a counselor or a therapist. They've read the books, listened to the podcasts, but they still find themselves in a loop. I call it your escape loop. And what that means is, like, for me, my escape loop used to be this feeling of frustration. I'll just squash that down and I'll just busy myself and I'll just take more action and I'll just spend more money on business coaches. And then the end result, exhaustion, dejection, deflatedness. That would hang around for a little bit until I pick myself up again, and I'll go back round to the start of the loop. I'll create a new course. I'll do something new, a little bit of feeling of excitement and optimism. And then comes the frustration, and then we loop. We loop like that, right? We loop. Everybody has the loop. Everybody has the loop. And the first job, if you want to create change in your life and quantum leap, you have to become aware of your loop. There's no avoiding it. You have to be aware of your loop. And when you are aware of what's holding it in place, which is a bunch of beliefs and a bunch of reference experiences, or things that have happened to you in your life, memories that crop up, then you can step back and out. And I call it like stepping into that observer space, where you can now hover a little bit above your thoughts and feelings and escape mechanisms, and you can see it for what it is. It's not you. It's not the real you. It's just the way that you've been thinking, feeling, responding, behaving. And you can choose a different...
like they say, you're not your mind, you have a mind.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And when you can really reconnect, and this is, when I first got taught this, I was like, this is a stretch for me. Like, what are you talking about? But it's like, when you imagine an onion, right? And it's got layers, and all the layers of the onion is your past, your limiting beliefs, other people's expectations of you, all the stuff that kind of like layers onto you. But if you peel back all the layers, so beyond other people's expectations of you, beyond your roles and identities, beyond your limiting beliefs, beyond, and you get to the very middle bit of the onion, that's the real you. So where do you feel that purest I am, that purest you? And everybody will say, oh, it's like deep in my chest or in my heart or in my torso, like really deep in. I'm like, okay, what's the energy of that? And it always comes back to unconditional love, peace, warmth, fulfillment, a connectedness. I'm like, right, this is your essence. Like, this is the bit we want to connect to because it's from that place, beyond all the bullshit that we tell ourselves. That place, when you take inspired action, there's no need to figure out the how. There's no need to, you might need to learn new things, absolutely, but you'll be guided towards those things. Like doors will just start opening once you are open to possibilities and potentials and serendipities and all the little messages. But if you're not connected to that, you'll be constantly looking outside of yourself with that shaky sense of self.
And so I guess that when you say if you're not connected to that, and that is the way the universe intends,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
So
where we
if you are not in sync with the universe,
Mhm.
that's when you get in trouble.
You look outside of yourself and you've got all the answers you need to know within. You don't need to be looking outside of yourself all the time. That's part of our conditioning. But when you can get quiet and still and go beyond all your loop, and once you need that information to be able to get past that, right? Then it's like, oh yeah, you get that measured energy, that's that grounded, I call it like your unshakable sense of self. And it's like, yeah, when I practice, and it is a practice, when I practice leaning into this essence, then that's when you can make your quantum leap. Decisions are easy to make. It's either a yes or a no. That's it. And there's no wrong decision. You can make, you'll always learn something, but it's like, when you feel resistance to maybe making a decision and you're sitting on the fence and you're like, oh, I don't know, and should I, shouldn't I? That's when you're not connected to your essence. When you're in your essence, it's just an easy yes. This is the path I want to take. This is the decision I want to take. And that's the effortlessness, right? It becomes easy when you're in that flow state because you're connected to yourself.
Yeah, so tell me about how all of that, what you just said, feeds into making a quantum leap in business, life, whatever.
Because you can show up from that energetic being. So it's not about doing more, it's about being in that state because that's magnetic. So you don't need to have a perfectly polished sales page or the most amazing social media content. You really don't. You need to be in that energy and show up in that energy. That's when your people will gravitate towards you and you'll have the confidence. Like people always like, I want to feel more confident. I'm like, okay, here we go again. Park that. That's not what you want. What you really want is to connect with yourself and have that grounded self so that you don't have the fear of showing up, and
Right. And you know what really makes a big difference for me when I receive the messages about the whole thing, basically in the context of my business. What I realized was that I was looking for confidence,
yeah.
and that confidence depended on external
Here we go.
validation.
Yeah.
What I really needed, I didn't have the sense of self-worth.
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that's two different things.
Yes, yes. I love that we're talking about this. So it's one of my main change patterns, I call them, a bit of like an intervention in my program. And it is this, right? So people are like, I want to feel more confident. I'm like, is it confidence? Usually it's self-belief or self-efficacy and a solid sense of self-worth. That's what they want. Confidence comes
Yes.
after competence. You need courage first, then you get good at something, you become competent, then you feel confident. That's the way. Like if you said to me, how confident are you at pouring a glass of water? I'd be like 100%. I can quite confidently pour a glass of water, right? But if you said, how confident are you at flying an airplane? I'd be like, can't fly an airplane. Like, no, I'm not confident of that at all. But I have enough self-belief and self-efficacy that if I wanted to fly an airplane, I could learn. I could definitely learn
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yes. And
Self-belief.
it was like I don't know how many exercises I did, and I used to write down my skills, my achievements, my wins, whatever, to remind myself about how great I was, masters and this and copywriting and world-class copywriter and marketer and blah, 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 blah. Was that helping?
No.
Not really.
No, no.
Oh my
So
God, until that
yeah,
moment when it clicked, oh my God, this is not about confidence, you know?
yeah. But self-worth is like, for me, it just makes me think of newborn babies, right? When you have a baby, I mean, you're a mother, you're not like getting your baby and immediately thinking, well, how much is this one worth? What can she do to make her to make her worthy? Of course you're not. You're like the unconditional love is just there. The unconditional worthiness is
Yes,
there. She doesn't need to do anything as a newborn, literally got no skills at all, right? Might be able to cry. That's about it. They can't do anything. But they're unconditionally worthy. So when is it that we start losing that?
exactly. That's the exact question I ask. And that's the exact way I actually talk to my clients as well. Think about yourself when you are like 6 or 7, 5, maybe. Well, a lot of people actually struggle to go back in time, and I struggle to think about myself when I was like 5. But then I think about my daughter. We don't tell our kids you can't do anything you want or you can't be anything you want, right? And they do believe that as well. Like one day she wants to be this, another day she wants to be that, and it's all cool. And she is that, it's done. In their
Mhm.
mind, it's done,
That's why
right?
little kids they're big dreamers. When you ask a
Yeah.
5-year-old, what do you want to be? They're like, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm like,
Question is when? When do we start doing this to ourselves? I can't be this, I can do that. And in fairness, so she's in the second class now, and I'm seeing how she is labeling herself already
yeah.
because of XYZ. Something was said by some teacher at school or whatever. It's just like, so
Yeah. It's like the second they start wondering about, I can't do this, that's it. The seed of self-doubt is there, the confidence wobbles. And it's like the glass with the jar of rice, right? It's like we've got to talk to ourselves with what you were saying, with like, of course I can do this. Of course I'm capable. Like, of course I can. Like, and we've got to bring a bit of humor to this as well. Like, thanks, brain. Like, you are designed literally to keep me alive and to protect me and to keep me safe. Thanks for doing
yeah,
your job. Do you know, like,
yeah,
bless your brain's little heart for just doing its job. But I've got this. I'm going to step out of my comfort zone, especially as ambitious entrepreneurs, right? We've got to be good at stepping out of our comfort zone and having the courage and the self-efficacy and the self-belief. And the trust, massive part of it as well, Adita, the trust that, you know what, when I put this offer out into the world, the universe, source energy, God, whatever you want to call it, will make sure the right people come. That's a massive part of the work I do because so many of my clients cling on to control because they don't have trust. And that's what puts them into hustle energy or procrastination or perfectionism. It's like, if I just keep tinkering and keep fixing things and keep doing stuff, then I'll feel in control. But let's be honest, what's the positive intention behind feeling in control? To feel safe. Do you really
mm,
feel safe right now? Or do you just feel like riddled with self-doubt and frustration and overwhelm and panicked powerlessness?
mm,
Again, it's just our central nervous system and our brain doing its job beautifully, just trying to protect us and keep us safe. But it's a false sense of safety. It's not working. It's not working because you're in this shaky sense of self, and we know that we attract what vibe we're in. So it's like we have to become a lighthouse and become magnetic. We have to have that unwavering faith and trust and confidence that's already done. I know we talked yesterday about Amazon Prime done energy. When you buy something on Amazon Prime, you don't sit at the window like checking if the guy's going to come. Where's the guy? Where's the guy? Where's my thing? No, you get on with your life with the trust, faith,
mm-hmm.
certainty that that parcel will arrive whenever that is. Might be delayed, he might break down, but it will come.
Yeah, I like it. Reminded me of the story from what book now? Maybe The Power of Now or something like that. And it said, when a crow thinks that he wants to fly to that other tree, he's on his way already.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
It's not like, should I not, blah, blah, blah,
it's done. It's done. Yeah, Amazon Prime done energy. If we could all be in that energy, that's when you quantum leap, right? In that
Just,
energy.
yeah, just to systemize then. Okay, so the fact is that the universe provides everything we need. For us, it's to sort of tune into that frequency,
Yes.
right? Which means that we and our frequency is caused by whatever is going on subconsciously, more or less,
Yes.
right? Because if we think our thoughts alone, they might be the wrong thoughts. So we need to work on that energy that is produced by our body, which is subconscious layer and stuff like that. So bring it up into consciousness, deal with it, sort it out. And
Yes.
that's when you take a completely different action with a completely different quality.
It might not be a different action, right? Like this is really interesting. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it can be the exact
Yes.
action, but you're putting different juice in it, right? It's coming from a different energy rather than it coming from like I call it desperate guy at the bar energy. You know, you get those guys at the bar desperately on the lookout for a date. And you're like, I need to make this work, I need to make this work. And it's this like panicky, like desperate energy, this needy energy. But you might be taking the exact same actions from a relaxed state of trust and playfulness. That's a very different energy. Actions are the same sometimes they're not, but it depends on what energy you come at it. That's what's going to make the biggest difference.
Yeah, and so when I said a different action, I didn't necessarily mean in in the strategy context.
Okay.
But let's say I instead of maybe the way, so what happens for me now, I when I notice that I'm thinking about something, I'm trying to coming up with a marketing hook, for example. I'm trying coming up and it's taking too long and I start noticing it. So I walk away. Before I would have been sitting the whole day trying to come up with that one marketing hook. Now
Yeah.
I walk away, and that's kind of the way we move, I guess, changes,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Well, it's like so in that instance, you had a thought, this is not working. I'm pushing, right? You feel push energy. Like I'm
Yeah,
trying to force this hook. I'm trying to like figure
yeah,
it out and force it. And then you had a thought of this isn't working. Like, let's go for a walk. And then you took a different kind of action. So it's still behavior, right? It's still an
yeah,
action, it's
yeah,
behavior. So it's like when you can change your environment, change your physiology, take a break, breath work, yoga, meditate, it's all good stuff. But it
yeah.
still comes back to elevating your emotion and getting clarity about the intention. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, I totally love this. I mentioned to you I did an episode on Quantum Leap, a solo episode on Quantum Leap a while ago, and I did talk about it's all about your energy. Really, we tend to most of the society live in this control energy. And
Mhm.
I liked the explanation someone gave. I heard somewhere that whenever you think something like heavy, bad, that's something that puts you in that forceful energy. It's a lie because that's not, and that's my reference point now.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm not feeling right. Okay, so what am I thinking to feel that way? Whatever I'm thinking, it's a lie because that's not the universe's intention
Mhm.
for me, for humanity, for everything, you
And I
know.
think that's a really good thing to remember that just because you're thinking it doesn't mean it's true,
Mm,
right? A lot of my clients are like, yeah, but I'm thinking it. And I have a corresponding feeling that matches my thought. So it must be true. And I'm like, no, your thoughts are not facts. That is a really toxic, distorted thinking pattern called emotionalizing. It's when you believe your thoughts to be true because you're thinking and feeling it. And we're like, well, I'm thinking it and feeling it, so it must be true. No, it's not true. We have to be really good at quality controlling our thoughts,
Yeah. Yeah.
interrogating them, questioning them, because
Yeah.
nine times out of 10, they're not true.
And I think you kind of mentioned that, and I noticed that in me in the past and during COVID as well, when I was literally limited, my time for business was literally limited by all the external circumstances. So I was in that place where I had to invent new ways, more powerful ways to do my things. And I did, right? And I did. When it was required, I did. I think we get addicted to this. And then I realized, okay, we are addicted. I am addicted to working, 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 grinding, grinding, grinding. The quality of my actions is not the best, but I'm at my desk, I'm grinding. And before my work, my working on my business used to mean sitting at my desk. Now it does not. I could go for a walk and it might mean work because I'm processing and thinking and creating ideas in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sit down here and then it's done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how cool is that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's inspired action, right? Because when you're walking in nature or whatever it is, you're elevating your emotion, you're feeling better. And it's like that's when you get the clarity and you're like, oh yeah, that is a good hook. That is a good way to write the email. Like, yeah. But when you're in that hustle, contracted state, this is when you know, right? When you're in an escape state, I call them escape states, the frustration, the overwhelm, confusion, numbing, um,
I love
anger,
that word. Yeah.
irritation, all escape states. You know you're in an escape state when you feel contracted. That's when you know, right? It's when you're in those elevated emotions of gratitude, joy, creativity, passion. It's like an openness, right? Those are elevated states. That's when you know.
Yeah. That's amazing. So basically, building brick by brick doesn't need to happen, right?
No, you can decide. It comes down to deciding. I'm going to decide to be really intentional with the way I think and feel. That's it. And deciding to elevate your. And let me make this clear as well, because I don't want your listeners to think, what is she saying? That I have to be like happy all the time. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's called toxic positivity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that I believe it's 50-50. I believe 50% of the time we're going to feel good, 50% of the time we're going to feel bad. No matter what stage of life you are, how much money is in your bank, it's still going to be 50-50. The difference, what I'm talking about, is to shift your state to change the way you think and feel without suppressing, tabooing, and suffering emotions. Like that's a skill that none of us are taught in terms of how can I shift my state without squashing this emotion that I don't want to feel down. That's the skill. It's self-regulation, right? That's to me, that is the key to success is self-regulation, how to manage your thoughts and feelings. So you're not suffering, but you're also not suppressing.
Yeah, I think this is something we can learn from children. Again, did you notice how quick they bounce? Like
Yeah,
something happens
but they
one minute.
allow themselves to feel, right?
Yeah, they cry like
Yeah.
crazy, like it's the end of the world, and the next moment, oh, look at them, look at that peaceful place, and you know.
That's the thing. But as adults, we are again, society conditioning's got a lot to play with this. It's pull your socks up. Who do like big girls don't cry, boys don't cry. It's a sign of weakness, right? So we're taught from a very early age, stop crying. It's not okay to feel angry, so we suppress those emotions. So,
So
we
feeling
resist.
your emotion is actually a way to, or the way to actually then eventually release them.
Absolutely. What you resist persists. Yeah.
Mhm.
You have to learn how to allow, and an emotion is just energy in motion, right? We've talked about this. Emotions are energy. It's dynamic. It doesn't want to stay. It wants to move through your body, but it will stay and stick if you're busy fueling it with thoughts, because that's what your brain will naturally want to do, collect evidence because it wants to be right. And if you just go, no, let's just do a bit of emailing or like go and take the dog out for a walk and suppress it.
Oh, that makes me feel better because, sometimes, when I get inspired by something, something clicks or whatever, I'm like, yeah, I got this, I got this. And now, you have the impression that like it's gonna last forever. Now your life is sorted and you're just gonna ride the wave for the rest of your life. And then an hour later, you know.
It's part of the human experience. And I just think like bless our little hearts, for being human, right? Like we've got to, because we've got to have some, and that's helps bring some self-compassion rather than beating yourself up for not getting it right. It's like this is the human experience. It's contrast. You wouldn't want to feel happy all the time. That would be weird. You want to experience the range of emotions that we can, that's the gift of being a human, but we don't want to suffer in them. That's the
Yeah,
point.
yeah, I like the when they say pain is inevitable, suffering is an option or something like that. You
Ah, I like
know,
that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So what could someone who would like to start quantum leaping, what could be their first few steps they could take?
Yeah.
Mm.
Like start learning how to use your brain, like retrain your brain, like learn how to use your brain properly. So the simplest step I always recommend is just get a pen and paper and just start writing whatever you're thinking without judgment. Even if it's like, what am I gonna have for dinner tonight? Who's gonna pick up my kid? Da, 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 da. You have to have awareness of your thoughts first and foremost. Okay. So you have to have some level of consciousness, awareness of your thoughts. And then you also need to get good at recognizing the sensations in your body. How am I feeling today? Like just do a little body scan, like, oh yeah, my heart rate's pretty steady, shoulders are relaxed. Like this is calm. Like start, people don't even can't even identify with emotions a lot of the time. So it's like start getting good at recognizing how you're feeling and how you're thinking. That is the very first step, is the awareness step. And then start using imagination. So like in a perfect world, if a magic wand existed, what is the life I would like to create? And start imagining it. Like start building it out as if you're an artist or an architect, and start really feeling into it. What would it feel like? Not as like a picture, but as a movie. You're in it. And
Hmm.
spend time with that. It's so easy for us to be like, get up, get the kids to school, tidy the house, get to work, it's just hamster wheeling, right? But actually invest the time in spending or investing time. I don't want to use the word spend, investing time with your big vision. Because when you start imagining things, that's when the emotions will elevate. And you're like, oh, can't wait. I'm so excited. Like, just have so much gratitude right now for what's going to be. And
Is
then
there
take
is there
action.
any tip for imagining like easier? Because I know from my own experience that sometimes it's kind of tricky for me personally. I don't know. I don't necessarily know what I want, or if I do think that I want something, I'm not sure now with whether is it something that I should want? You
Yeah.
know, like
It's sometimes the hardest question. What do you want? You're like, I don't know. Yeah. So, in fact, I've got a little PDF I can share with your audience, and it's literally called Your Perfect Day. And it's just a list of
if you
prompts.
yeah
Yeah. I'll share it with you. It just gives you a little list of prompts like, what do you want to do when you wake up? Do you want to get breakfast? Do you want to take the kids to school? Like, what does your house look like? It just gives you little prompts to start thinking. In a perfect world, if you give yourself permission to dream big, what would you like to be doing? And also, what do you not want? That's just as valuable to ask yourself. What do you not want? But you
right.
can start just even on a smaller level. It doesn't have to be the big dream. You can start just with little things. The important piece about this is making that vision crystal clear, really bright, and being in it. Because if you see this big vision as like a speck on the horizon and it's miles away, that's not going to work. You need to bring it in closer. You need to be in the movie. so you can get those elevated emotions. Every morning and every evening is the best times when your brain is most susceptible to suggestion.
Yeah, that's a good tip because, right, like imagine your dream house. I don't know. My imagination only is within these walls, you know.
Ah,
It's
you have to
like
go on Pinterest.
it's like maybe flip the script and see, okay, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, and maybe then it will help you imagine your dream house or whatever, dream life.
Yeah, just start watch, was it Selling Sunset on Netflix in
Like, I
California?
don't like these shoes. What shoes would I have instead? You know, maybe, I don't know, something like that.
But
Oh,
yeah,
wow. That is super, super cool. And oh my God, like I said, I love this topic, and I could be talking about this forever, you know. And I think the tricky piece here is as well that it's kind of simple as well, right?
yeah, we make it way more
Do you think
complicated.
we resist simplicity somehow in our society,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Yeah, well, we're just in this 3D world all the time that we don't trust our brains anymore, that we can turn our reality around simply by visualizing. Like, what? But yeah, but skepticism is another escape. It's another escape state.
Right, right.
But read Dr. Joe Dispenza books. The Power of the Subconscious
Good.
Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And if you want a bit of lighter reading, I love Denise Duffield Thomas's books. Have you read her books?
Yep.
Yeah,
At least one. Yep. Yep.
I love her chat about manifestation. She's a money mindset coach, multimillionaire in
It's very
Australia.
cool and fun as well.
It's really fun. It's a bit of light reading, whereas the Joe Dispenza books can be a bit heavy, a couple of pages is enough.
That's true, though I do enjoy simplifying things,
Yes.
like for myself and then for everyone else. So, but I also have the need to understand that stuff.
Yeah, me too.
So, anyway, so almost the last question. And I ask this question to my all guests. When you hear from grind to grace, what goes through your mind?
When I hear from grind to what? To
To
grace.
grace,
To
the name of
grace.
the podcast.
What goes through my mind? For me, it's moving away from the masculine hustle culture that we've all been conditioned to and moving into more feminine energy with this ease and flow.
Yay, love that. Love that totally. And that's one of the things behind all of this, behind all the show. Oh, amazing. Thank you. So, right. So thank you so much for being here with me.
Pleasure. Yeah.
And like I appreciate this, and I'm almost sure I'm gonna have you again on my show. This is like, one of those topics. And
Fun.
and yeah, if people want to find you, where should they go?
So I'm a Facebook girl. I hang out mainly on Facebook. So you can just search up Gemma Gilmour Coaching. Um, I use my personal profile more than my business page. So try and add me as a friend on my personal profile, and I share daily content pretty much on that profile. And then www.gemmagilmore.com is my website. And just reach out in the DMs and Facebook. Yeah,
And
if you
then
want.
PDF, right, right, very good. I'm a Facebook girl as well, for the most part. And yeah, the PDF. So if
Yeah,
you,
I'll share the PDF, the
I'll
perfect.
put all the links in the show notes, so
Yeah,
people
I'll
can
send it to
find you.
you. It's really good. I do it every quarter. I just because I like to work in my year in quarters, and it's really fun to look back on the previous perfect day exercise because you can see what you've ticked off and what you've achieved, which is really nice. But yeah, it's a good one. I'll send that over for your listeners as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And such a great topic, such a cool work you are
Yes,
doing for all of
very
us.
cool. Yeah.
And
Thank you
yeah,
for having me.
and for the listener, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy this. I believe you did, and which is why, which is why subscribe and share this with anyone you think would benefit from this. Thank you again, and until next time.